how do you know what's a good idea?
It's actually quite easy. We go where the dogs want to go, or the food that the dogs want to eat. And as long as we keep doing that, I think we stay abreast of where we need to go.
Ideas are cheap. Everyone's got an idea. The challenge, I think, with innovation is actually understanding what your focus is. What are you trying to achieve? We were acquired about 7 months ago, and we're still getting used to having a tag with my name on it and touching doors. Like, it's a new experience for a startup guy. But I think we're actually an experiment within Google, and the experiment is to leave us completely independent. That was when we were discussing the acquisition terms. That was extremely important to us because we operate radically differently than anything that Google does. We're community-driven. When we were acquired, we had 50 million users. We have many more than that now who are contributing and are involved. Our users translate our site. Within 48 hours of releasing a new string, we'll get it translated to 40 languages by volunteers. Our users test the product. They get beta releases months before it goes live, and we have to trust them to keep it confidential. Our users obviously build the map itself, update the data. We have a very, very intimate relationship with these users, which is very different. And so Google's running an experiment with us where we're being kept completely separate, except for some obvious things like legal and some of the corporate functions. We've been kept completely separate. We're our own organization. The reporting structure has stayed the same. And Google's taking a lot of risk there. Right. And I think that's when we talk about innovation, if you're not taking risk, it's not innovative.
Our marketing people spend a lot of time worrying about customer research and the pain points customers feel in our industry. Our technology developers are coming to us and saying, hey, let's take Google Glasses for as an example, or we are on Talk.
Right.
And they're coming to us and saying, sorry, Talk, the smartwatch, and we are looking at other smartwatches too. And they're coming to us and saying, look, our customers are beginning to experiment with this. We feel that this kind of segment of person is going to be an early adopter. And would you like to have us think about it? So then we marry the technology people with our marketing people.
Got it.
We have product people who worry about trading, for example. We bring the three of them together and say, OK, guys, what do you think we can do out here? And there's a huge amount of power in doing that because you now have three different perspectives looking at the same problem and identifying something that's new, as opposed to just relying on a cool idea that hopefully somebody comes up with. So in some ways, we are trying to create a structure around innovation, which I know sounds like a paradox. But that paradox has actually allowed us to grow to a company where we've been at the forefront of every trend, and we have 3 million accounts.
When I see people saying, I'm from the innovation center of large corporation X, you know what's happening there is you've hired some young people, give them beer and pizza, and forget about it. There is no way in the world anything that comes out of there will actually get to the customer. And this is, I think, part of the problem when you think about innovation. It's not something that can be bottled or used in a specific or a part of the organization. It's a DNA for the whole organization. I think that's what's interesting, the way Silicon Valley today is doing acquisitions. They're trying to keep that innovation within a vertical hold of the company. So we still have our own sales, ad operations, R&D, product, everything. And we can then innovate because we can decide how we're going to do things. If we could only innovate on the product, but we could not innovate on operations or on other infrastructure, other things, basically it would fall apart.
Innovation ultimately has to be part of who you are. So we don't think of innovation as a separate bucket. We just want to keep an eye on where the critical trends are in our industry because we don't know when they're going to happen, right? So you can't anticipate when mobile was going to take off, but when it occurred, we were there ready for it.
Every person I meet, oh, you're from Waze? I gotta tell you, why don't you have this and this and this? Everyone's got an idea. We get tens of emails a day with people with ideas, sending us NDAs to sign, asking to discuss it with us, companies. And the challenge, I think, with innovation is actually understanding what your focus is. What are you trying to achieve? And which ideas actually will move forward whatever the core is that you're trying to achieve. And innovation and distraction are very closely tied. And that's, I think, one of the challenges that we deal with. It's how do we actually temper all these great ideas?
Technology developers look at me and say, why don't we create 10 ideas and throw it out there? Well, the problem with our ideas and throwing it out there is we are dealing with real people's needs, real people's money, real people's aspiration about retiring, worrying about a down payment for their house, trying to buy a car. So I can't just start an app, put it out there, have it fail on you, have your money fail on you, and then you look at me after 3 years and I go, oh, sorry, it was an experiment.
When we look at sort of what's our next big innovation, If one is connected cars. So that's a whole interesting space that's happening. And a few years from now, when you buy your car, you're going to be able to download Waze into it, and it's going to be a very interesting experience. Second really is governments. And this is something that we've discovered. Our platform creates real-time traffic, historical traffic. And obviously, the big consumers of this are governments, departments of transportation, municipalities. And so we've begun a program working with governments in a very interesting way where they get access to APIs. I guess the most advanced country right now actually is Brazil, getting ready for the World Cup. Brazil has built these municipal control centers, and they're actually plugged into Waze. So now imagine the flow that a user is in a street in Rio, and he sees a pipe burst, and he marks it with Waze. Hey, there's a pipe burst here. So that obviously warns all the other Wazers, but it also shows up at the core, the center of the municipality. They pull up this user-generated notice. They look at one of their existing cameras into the space. They send someone from the water utility company out there to actually fix it. And so now we have millions of users in Brazil, and they're all becoming sensors in a way for the municipality to try and track what's going on. And this is what we see in terms of pushing the envelope on innovation. If we can crack the government organizations and be able to work with them, well, then anything's possible.
Wearables is definitely the new trend, but I don't think we have actually fully explored the potential of what you can do on mobile.
As long as you keep the user first, everything else falls into place.